Have you ever met two Geminis? And felt like they were from completely different worlds? One loves deep conversations, while the other seems lost in their own thoughts. One chases freedom. The other builds quiet inner worlds. And yet, they share the same zodiac sign. So, what's really going on? Here's a truth most people don't know. Not all Geminis are the same. In fact, there are 3 completely different types of Gemini, each shaped by something deeper than just your birthday. It's called your decan. And it changes everything. Your decan isn't just an astrological detail. It's the map of your mind. It shapes how you think, how you feel, how you connect with people and with yourself. In today's video, we're going to explore the 3 hidden psychological types of Gemini. This isn't basic astrology. This is where astrology meets psychology, where cosmic energy meets human behavior, and where you might finally understand why you are the way you are. So, are you ready to discover your true Gemini nature? Stay with me, because what you're about to learn might change how you see yourself forever. Before we dive in, take a second to like this video. Subscribe to the channel if you love deep, soulful insights like this. And share it with a friend who needs to hear this too. Now, let's begin. Most people think that being a Gemini simply means you're social, talkative, and maybe a little unpredictable. But that's just the surface. There's something deeper. Something hidden. Every Gemini belongs to one of 3 secret types. And these types aren't just random labels. They reveal how your mind works, how your emotions flow, how you connect and why you disconnect. They explain why some Geminis feel lost in their thoughts, while others can't stop talking. And a few simply vanish from your life without a word. Astrology is often treated like entertainment. But real astrology? It's a map of your inner world. Your decan isn't just a technical detail. It's a blueprint of your psychological patterns, your behaviors, even your fears and desires. It explains the conversations you crave, the loneliness you feel even when you're surrounded by people, and why sometimes your own mind feels like both your best friend and your worst enemy. Understanding the psychology of Gemini starts here. Gemini isn't just about duality. It's about complexity. Each decan is a different answer to one simple question: how do you handle the uncertainty of life? Some of us talk through it. Others think through it. And a few escape into discovery. Your decan shows how you survive chaos, how you build identity when your thoughts move faster than your emotions, and why connecting with others feels both necessary and exhausting. Think about it. Have you ever wondered why conversations drain you one day, but energize you the next? Why you can't decide if you're more comfortable in a room full of people, or alone with your thoughts? That's not random. That's your Gemini mind navigating the paradox between connection and independence, between expressing yourself and protecting yourself. Every Gemini feels it. But your decan explains how you respond to it. And here's something most people don't realize. Geminis aren't indecisive because they're scattered. They're indecisive because they see too many possibilities. Their mind doesn't follow a straight line. It explores. It questions. It challenges. Constantly. And each decan reveals a different style of exploration. The first decan uses words. The second, emotions. The third, freedom. But underneath? All 3 are searching for the same thing. Understanding. Meaning. A sense of self that feels true, even when the world around them keeps shifting. I want you to imagine this. Picture a Gemini child, standing in front of a window on a rainy day. Some children might stare quietly. Others might ask endless questions. But this child? They start talking to themselves, telling a story, Maybe about the raindrops racing down the glass. Maybe about the clouds hiding secret cities. That's not just imagination. That's the mind of a first decan Gemini at work. Words are their way of understanding the world. And from that moment, their journey begins. Words aren't just tools for first decan Geminis. They're survival skills. From childhood, these Geminis discover that speaking helps them process life. Talking doesn't just share thoughts. It shapes them. When they explain something, they're not just communicating. They're learning. About themselves. About others. About the world. Conversations become more than social moments. They become mirrors, reflecting their own minds back to them. But here's the twist. As much as first decan Geminis love to talk, they also crave silence. Not because they dislike people, but because silence is where their real conversations happen. Alone, in their thoughts, they rehearse future conversations. They relive past ones. They organize ideas into stories, into arguments, into dreams. Their solitude isn't loneliness. It's where they refine the words that make them who they are. This might explain why some of your most creative ideas come not when you're talking, but when you're walking alone, driving, or lying awake at night. Your mind isn't shutting down. It's preparing, planning, building the words you'll soon need to share. And when they do speak, first decan Geminis captivate. Not because they're trying to impress, but because they can't help it. Their words flow naturally, adapting to the moment, adjusting to the audience. It's why they're often called natural storytellers or master communicators. They can turn a simple observation into a captivating moment, a dull fact into a fascinating idea. But what most people don't see is that behind every effortless sentence, there's a mind working overtime. Not to deceive, but to connect. This need for connection is both their strength and their struggle. They can talk to anyone. But understanding themselves? That takes time. And often, solitude. So if you're a first decan Gemini, don't feel guilty for craving quiet after a day of conversations. You're not retreating. You're recharging. And if you know a Gemini like this, give them space when they fall silent. It means they trust you enough to let you witness their thinking phase. Now, imagine someone else. Someone who moves through the world more slowly. Not because they're shy, but because they're watching, listening, feeling. This is the second decan Gemini. Ruled by Venus, their mind works differently. They process life not through words, but through beauty, through emotion, through meaning. While the first decan seeks understanding through expression, the second decan seeks it through reflection. These Geminis notice what others overlook. The way sunlight hits a wall. The rhythm of footsteps in the street. The tone behind a simple hello. To them, life isn't just happening. It's speaking. And they're always listening. Their gift is seeing depth where others see routine. Every moment, every detail, holds a story. Not because they're imagining it, but because their mind searches for connection. Between thoughts. Between people. Between life itself. They're often artists, writers, musicians, or philosophers. But not always. Some express their depth quietly. Through the questions they ask. The advice they give. Or simply the way they listen. Talking to a second decan Gemini feels different. They don't rush the conversation. They absorb it. Process it. And when they speak, their words carry weight. Not because they're loud, but because they're true. But like the first decan, they need solitude. Not to escape people, but to reconnect with themselves. Their solitude is where they heal. Where they create. Where they find clarity in the midst of emotional complexity. So if you're this type of Gemini, honor your need for quiet. It's not weakness. It's where your strength grows. And if you care about someone like this, understand that their silences aren't rejection. They're creation. In their silence, they're building the beauty they'll one day share with the world. So you see, whether words or beauty, connection or reflection, every Gemini is searching for clarity, for meaning, for a way to translate the chaos inside into something the world can understand. And the more you understand your decan, the more you understand the deeper layers of yourself. But here's something important about the second decan Gemini. While their world is rich and beautiful inside, it's not always easy for them to share it. People might see them as quiet or even distant. The truth? They're not disconnected. They're overwhelmed by how much they feel. Their mind is constantly absorbing details, their heart translating emotions, their soul searching for the right way to express it all. But words don't come as easily as they do for the first decan. For them, sharing their inner world feels vulnerable, like revealing a hidden garden no one else understands. If you're this type of Gemini, you've probably felt the frustration of wanting to say something meaningful but finding silence instead. You're not alone. Your silence isn't emptiness. It's depth. It's your mind filtering thoughts until the moment feels safe enough to let them out. And when that moment comes, your words heal. They inspire. They linger. Because when a second decan Gemini speaks, people listen. Many of these Geminis turn their reflections into art. Maybe you journal late at night, write songs no one hears, or find peace in painting or photography. You're not creating art for attention. You're doing it to make sense of the world. And that's the beauty of your mind. You don't just think. You feel. You don't just see. You notice. And through your creations, you help others slow down and see the beauty you've seen all along. But don't forget, solitude isn't isolation. It's your sanctuary. It's okay to retreat. To recharge. To think. The people who truly care about you will understand that your silences aren't rejection. They're creation. They're healing. And in your quiet moments, you're preparing to return, not as someone lost, but as someone ready to share your deepest self. Now, let's shift. Imagine someone different. Someone who doesn't just observe the world quietly, but questions it. Challenges it. Breaks it open just to see what's inside. This is the third decan Gemini. And their mind? It works like a storm. Fast. Unpredictable. Restless. They're not content following the usual paths. They need to explore. They need to discover. They need freedom, not as a luxury, but as a necessity for their soul. If you're this type of Gemini, you've probably been told you're impulsive, unpredictable, maybe even chaotic. But the truth? You're curious. Curious in a way most people don't understand. Routine suffocates you. Predictability bores you. Your mind needs constant stimulation. Not because you're scattered, but because you're wired for discovery. You're the kind of person who dives into a new hobby every few weeks. Who stays up until 3 a.m. researching a topic you didn't even know existed yesterday. Who books a spontaneous trip not because you need a vacation, but because your soul needs motion. People might call it reckless. But for you? It's survival. Exploring is how you regulate your emotions. Learning is how you calm your mind. Movement is how you find peace. But there's a hidden struggle in your restlessness. You start things with passion, but often lose interest before finishing. You fall in love quickly, but drift away just as fast when the connection starts to feel routine. And maybe, deep down, you've asked yourself, what's wrong with me? Why can't I settle? Why can't I stay? Let me tell you something. There's nothing wrong with you. Your need for change isn't a flaw. It's a part of your Uranian energy. You weren't born to follow a single path. You're here to explore many. To touch life in countless ways. To leave behind traces of your curiosity everywhere you go. Your mind isn't linear. It's a galaxy. And galaxies aren't meant to stand still. But here's the wisdom buried in your chaos. Beneath your thirst for adventure lies a deeper truth. You know that everything is temporary. That nothing lasts forever. That life is about constant change. You don't cling to the past. You don't fear the future. You ride the waves of life. Trusting that wherever you end up next will be exactly where you're meant to be. That's why your relationships feel different. You're drawn to people who challenge you. Who surprise you. Who can keep up with your ever-changing mind. You can't stand boredom. You can't fake interest. You need conversations that make you think. People who make you feel alive. And when you find that, you stay. Not because you have to, but because you want to. But let me give you a gentle reminder. While freedom feeds your soul, connection grounds it. Don't be afraid to pause. To stay a little longer. To let someone in, even when your mind tells you to run. Your freedom doesn't disappear when you choose to connect. It deepens. It expands. And sometimes, the greatest adventure is learning how to stay. If you're a third decan Gemini, embrace your unpredictability. Let your curiosity lead you. But remember, not every exit needs to be taken. Sometimes, staying curious means exploring a single moment more deeply, not just moving on to the next. Now, let's pull back for a moment. Across all 3 decans, every Gemini shares something few people understand. You're constantly torn between connection and independence. Between speaking and retreating. Between seeking the world and hiding within yourself. It's not weakness. It's not confusion. It's who you are. A mind that's always searching. A soul that's always questioning. A heart that feels more than it shows. Each decan is simply a different answer to the same question: how do I survive the chaos of life? The communicator uses words. The thinker uses beauty. The wanderer uses freedom. But all 3? They're searching for the same thing. Understanding. Of the world. Of others. Of themselves. And now, as we move forward in this video, it's time to explore the deeper layers of this journey. Because the final insights, waiting just ahead, will reveal the most profound, and perhaps the most controversial, truths about what it really means to be a Gemini. Now, as we go deeper, I want you to think about your own life for a moment. Think about how you connect with others. Think about the people you're drawn to. The friendships that feel easy, and the ones that feel draining. Think about your closest relationships, the ones that feel like home. And now ask yourself, why do those connections feel different? Why do you open up to some people so easily, yet build walls with others? The answer often isn't found in the people around you. It's hidden within yourself. Within the way your decan shapes your emotional needs. Because no matter which Gemini decan you belong to, the truth is, you're looking for someone who speaks your mind's language. For first decan Geminis, that means seeking people who listen. Who don't interrupt. Who let you express without judgment. But it goes deeper than that. You're not just sharing words. You're sharing yourself. When someone truly listens, you finally feel seen, not for your surface charm, but for your restless, racing thoughts that so few people understand. Second decan Geminis search for something different. You crave depth. You crave silence that feels safe. People who don't pressure you to speak, but who understand your quiet is a form of love. Someone who notices the small things, just like you do. Someone who can sit with you in silence without needing to fill the space. For you, conversations aren't about filling time. They're about sharing meaning. And if you're a third decan Gemini, your needs might feel harder to explain. You want excitement, newness, people who challenge your ideas, who don't hold you back. But deep down, what you really crave is freedom to be yourself, without judgment. A relationship where you can change, evolve, disappear for a while, and still be welcomed back. Not everyone can handle that kind of energy. But when you find someone who can, that bond feels electric. So if you've ever felt misunderstood in love, in friendship, or even in your own family, it's not because something is wrong with you. It's because your mind has specific emotional needs that not everyone knows how to meet. And your decan holds the key to understanding those needs. Knowing this can change how you connect, how you love, how you let yourself be loved. But relationships aren't the only place your decan shows up. It also shapes your sense of identity. Your entire way of answering life's hardest question, who am I? For first decan Geminis, identity is built through logic, through facts, through explaining the world until it makes sense. You define yourself by your knowledge, your ability to communicate, to think quickly, to adapt. That's why losing your voice, or being ignored, hurts more than you admit. Because when you can't express yourself, you feel like you're losing yourself. Second decan Geminis walk a different path. You build your identity through emotion, through beauty, through meaning. You're not just trying to explain life. You're trying to feel it, to understand why things matter. Your soul searches for stories that give life depth, moments that feel like art. Without beauty, you feel disconnected. Without depth, you feel lost. You don't just want to live, you want to feel alive. Third decan Geminis? You shape your identity through freedom, through innovation, through the constant reinvention of who you are. You resist labels because you know, labels are limits. You define yourself by what you haven't done yet, what you haven't discovered, what's still possible. Routine terrifies you. Stagnation suffocates you. For you, being trapped in a version of yourself that no longer fits feels like death. And that's why change isn't just a choice. It's survival. But here's where it gets interesting. No matter which decan you belong to, every Gemini shares something powerful. The search for self is never a straight path. It's a spiral. Sometimes, you feel like you've found yourself. Then something shifts. And suddenly, you're searching all over again. That's not failure. That's your nature. Your mind isn't meant to stay still. You're designed to evolve, to question, to grow. And the more you resist that truth, the more lost you'll feel. So stop fighting the change. Stop trying to force yourself into a version of life that doesn't fit. Your decan doesn't limit you. It guides you. It shows you where your power is hidden, and how your mind naturally builds your sense of identity. When you honor that, you stop feeling broken. And you start feeling free. Now, let's step back and look at the bigger picture. What does it really mean to be a Gemini? Beyond the stereotypes. Beyond the surface. Your decan reveals your method of survival in a world that often feels chaotic. First decan Geminis survive through communication. Words are your anchor. Talking isn't small talk, it's your way of organizing the chaos inside. Second decan Geminis survive through reflection. Beauty is your compass. Meaning isn't a luxury, it's how you navigate life's confusion. And third decan Geminis? You survive through exploration. Freedom isn't rebellion, it's the only way your soul breathes. But underneath all of that, you're all searching for understanding, for connection, for a place where your mind feels safe to wander, question, and simply be. And whether you find that in people, in art, or in movement, your search is valid. Your needs are real. Your complexity is not a problem to solve. It's a gift to embrace. As we move into the final part of this journey, I'll share with you the 3 deepest, and perhaps most controversial, truths about Gemini psychology. Insights that might challenge what you believe, not just about your zodiac sign, but about yourself. Stay with me, because what comes next might change everything. Have you ever felt like your own mind is a puzzle even you can't solve? Like no matter how much you try to explain yourself, even to people who love you, something always stays hidden? This feeling is common in Geminis, no matter which decan you belong to. But why? Why does understanding yourself feel so hard? The answer isn't simple. It's not because you're confused. It's because your mind works on 2 levels. One part of you is always connecting, talking, moving forward. The other part? It's watching quietly from a distance, questioning everything, even yourself. And this inner split makes you feel both present and absent at the same time. To others, you seem alive, alert, engaged. But inside, there's another conversation happening. One no one else hears. Your decan decides how this inner voice speaks. For some of you, it speaks in questions. For others, in dreams. For others still, in plans for the future that change as quickly as they form. But this inner voice is always there. And most Geminis spend their lives trying to balance that outer world of connection with the inner world of constant thought. This duality isn't a weakness. It's your gift. It means you can connect with people while still protecting a part of yourself. It means you can reflect on life while still participating in it. But it also explains why you can feel lonely, even in a crowd. Because while people are talking to you, your inner self is somewhere else, thinking, observing, preparing for what comes next. So, how do you live with this split? First, you need to stop seeing it as a problem. Your ability to shift between connection and introspection is what gives you depth. It's what makes your insights powerful. And it's why people often come to you for advice, even when you don't feel ready to give it. But here's the challenge. Your inner voice, while wise, can also be your harshest critic. It questions not just the world, but you. Your choices. Your worth. Your direction. And sometimes, it convinces you that you're lost, when you're actually just thinking. If this sounds familiar, I want you to remember something important. Thinking deeply doesn't mean you're broken. It means you're awake. You're conscious of the layers beneath your actions. That's not confusion. That's awareness. Give yourself permission to pause, to reflect, to overthink. It's part of how your mind finds clarity. But also, learn when to step back from that voice. When to stop questioning long enough to feel, to experience, to live. Let your mind wander, but don't let it trap you. You're not your thoughts. You're the one observing them. And that difference matters. Now, let's talk about how your decan influences the way you see the world itself. Because it's not just about how you think. It's about how you perceive life. First decan Geminis tend to see life as something to explain. Facts matter. Clarity matters. Conversations aren't just exchanges, they're investigations. You're constantly looking for the missing piece that makes everything click. You break life down into parts to make sense of it. And while that's a strength, it can also be exhausting. Sometimes, life isn't meant to be solved. Sometimes, it's meant to be felt. Second decan Geminis approach life like it's a painting. You search for beauty in unexpected places. You find meaning in things others overlook. But you also risk losing yourself in your inner world. When life feels too harsh, you retreat into thoughts that feel softer, safer. Remember this, the world outside may be messy, but it's real. Let yourself step into it. Let yourself be seen. The beauty you carry inside deserves to be shared. Third decan Geminis see life as a question mark. As a road that keeps twisting, turning, shifting. You don't ask what's next. You ask, why not? You look for edges to push, doors to open, and rules to bend. But living in constant forward motion can leave you feeling disconnected from where you are now. Take a breath. Look around. Not every adventure has to be somewhere else. Sometimes, the next discovery is within you. Understanding how you perceive life can change everything. It can help you forgive yourself for how your mind works. It can help you explain your needs to others. It can help you stop fighting your nature and start living in harmony with it. And now, as we prepare to explore the final, most personal truths about Gemini, ask yourself, what have you been searching for all this time? Maybe it's understanding. Maybe it's connection. Maybe it's freedom. But maybe it's something even deeper. Something hidden beneath the layers of your thoughts. In the next part of this journey, we'll uncover those last 3 truths. The ones that might change not just how you see your mind, but how you live your life. Stay with me. The answers are closer than you think. But maybe the deepest truth about being a Gemini is this. You are never truly alone. Even when you're by yourself. Even in silence. Even when no one else understands you. Your mind is always there. Moving. Questioning. Creating. It's your constant companion. Your greatest strength. And sometimes, your biggest struggle. You might feel like you're fighting your own thoughts. Like your restlessness, your overthinking, your constant need for change, is something you have to fix. But what if it's not a flaw? What if it's your gift? What if every question, every shift, every unfinished conversation inside your head is simply your soul trying to grow? Because here's the truth. Your mind isn't chaotic. It's expansive. It's vast. It's open to possibilities that others can't see. You live in a world of potential. Of ideas. Of connections waiting to be made. And that makes you different. Not broken. Not confused. Just different. And that difference is where your power lies. Think about your life for a moment. Think about the times you felt misunderstood. The times people told you to slow down. To focus. To choose one path and stick to it. Maybe you tried. Maybe you forced yourself into someone else's version of stability. And maybe you felt empty. That's not failure. That's your soul reminding you, you're meant to evolve. To question. To explore life from angles no one else dares to see. And when you stop trying to suppress that part of yourself, you'll realize something powerful. You weren't meant to follow. You were meant to lead. Not by shouting louder, but by thinking deeper, feeling more, and creating new ways to understand the world. Now comes perhaps the hardest lesson for every Gemini heart. Life is not a puzzle you're meant to solve. It's a story you're meant to live. A story full of twists, doubts, discoveries, and yes, changes. Stop chasing the final answer. Let yourself live the question. Let yourself be curious. Let yourself wonder. Let yourself become. Because that's what it means to be a Gemini. You're not a sign of confusion. You're a sign of movement. Of transformation. Of endless potential. And whether your path is built on words, or beauty, or freedom, your journey matters. You matter. And the people who truly see you will love you not despite your complexity, but because of it. So now, as we come to the end of this journey together, I want you to carry one message in your heart. You don't have to choose between connection and independence. Between stability and change. Between speaking and silence. You can be all of it. You can be both. That's not your weakness. It's your gift. If this video spoke to you, Even in just one small way, take a moment to like it. Share it with someone who needs to hear this today. Maybe a Gemini in your life who's always felt different. Maybe yourself. And if you saw a part of yourself in these words, hit subscribe. Because there's so much more waiting for you. More insights. More stories. More journeys into the mind and heart. Thank you for letting me speak to your soul today. And remember, your mind is not a maze. It's a galaxy. Keep exploring it. Keep becoming. And I'll meet you in the next video.